He's a Steelers fan. You know, when they were undefeated last year, and the Redskins beat them, he said, "Yeah, man, beat by team, no name." What's
No, he was down there doing something.
Benitez Jackson? Not bad. How about you, buddy? Good to see you. You're out.
You running the show tonight?
No, sir. I'm just setting up our live stream. She tells you to shut up. And stand down, okay? Yeah, there you is. You can get him like a fire.
I don't know, look at that old eye.
Look at Dave Perry's eye. See Dave Perry's eye?
I know, I told him I wanted them to, wear a patch
You
on
have
his
a
eye.
vendor license.
It was pretty red,
I
doesn't
don't know if it is. I don't recognize some of those people. Yeah.
Hey, Diana?
Now,
Yes.
the people that are here, one vendor used to sell stuff. They would do Leave. You and Charles, y'all need to get it. That's it. They're coming back.
Talking about the board.
Walmart is handing out masks.
How you doing?
Handing out masks. If you
Walk in.
want one, you go in.
Sanitizer.
Am I supposed to share this with
I
you?
know. Part of it.
It's yours.
Thank you.
Put your name written all
I
over.
like this stuff. Who did that?
That place in the back.
Y'all make coffee right
I know what place is it?
Oh, I know.
Trophy something or other. It's up there behind. Where Close Lumber Company used to be. It's right there. It's right next to Green Paving. I'm surprised you'd be able to do this.
Yeah.
That part of the shop.
Yeah, and then they don't go.
Yeah.
It's Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Who's missing?
Nobody. Bill Hall.
Bill moved, see.
Hey, what's your picture?
Go out in good spirits.
Mayor's down.
The preacher, yes.
That's the one we got.
We've done well. We've moved on. I hate to see you go there.
Do what?
Hi, how are you?
They wanted to see while you were still approaching. You understand?
The phone's been ringing off the hook all day about it. Dale Burns. I know Dale
Oh, he
Burns.
called me.
What about?
Me and Cat in his house. I said, "What can we do about it?" We all know. They called me.
Oh. I know him. He's your cops and crows.
Yeah, it was.
Said he was on hospital.
You don't watch-
Yeah, I don't vote with you.
Dale Burns.
Gotcha.
Dale Burns.
That was you on what?
Yes,
I got it marked out here. I got a call. D. Perry.
That's roasted. I think that's.
Was he got COVID?
He was complaining about cats.
I don't remember.
Calling her Benitez about
And you were getting in the lock?
no, well, he said, I don't know if he said
Go, Mayor.
that's aggravating.
Come on, Dave.
Oh. She finally getting to open up.
Immediately gotta go down the side. I think it was this side.
Glad you're here. Thank you. 6:30.
Yep.
She's missing.
Nobody. Everybody's.
Call the meeting of the Oak Hill City Council to order for August 9th, 2021. The clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Daniel E. Wright.
Here.
Council at Large Oxley.
Here.
Councilors from Ward 1, Diana Janey. Here. Melissa Wilshire. Here. David Perry.
Here.
Councilors from Ward 2, Steve Hazlett.
Here.
Charles Smallwood Jr.
Here.
Benitez Jackson.
Here.
Our invocation tonight will be offered by Pastor William McClung of the Luck Alley Baptist Church, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Wilshire.
Almighty God, as we come together this evening to conduct the matters of government, Lord, we first want to thank you for the wonderful privilege that we have to live in a country like the United States, where we can have representative government, both at the national, the state, and the local level. We thank you that, Lord, you've blessed us in that way. Lord, we now come, we ask a blessing, a special blessing upon these elected representatives that are here tonight to conduct the business matters of Oak Hill. We ask for wisdom as they conduct their business tonight. Give them the wisdom that they need to make the decisions that would be right and pleasing in your eyes. And Lord, we now pray that even as we conclude this gathering here tonight, that you would provide safety and travel for each of the individuals gathered here as they return to their homes. And Lord, we'll give you all the praise, for it's in Jesus' name we ask. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, point of personal privilege before we read the minutes. I would like to request that we go back to our first meeting, some decorum, in terms of our participation, public participation. You did very well the first meeting. We all kind of contributed to letting things get out of control. Meaning that if we allow 3 minutes, 4 minutes, or 5 minutes, which you can adjust that according to the number of people who signed up prior to, that we time those individuals in public and hold them to that time. And that's supposed to be a time that we are not supposed to interact with those presenters, which we've been guilty of that. I also would like to ask that when we get into the substance of our meeting, that those persons are here, have had their opportunity to speak during the public meeting, that there would not be interruption from the audience. And I think we would move along quicker. Our public would be able to hear better and synthesize more of what we've done and said and hold us more accountable. So I would like to ask that we emphasize protocol and stick to that protocol. And I hope I would have some support from my colleagues.
I would agree. I think we need to announce at the beginning of the meeting how many minutes each presenter would have, and then be strict about it and not deviate from that. I agree.
I agree. All right, we'll now move to the reading and approval of minutes. Is there a motion regarding them?
Mayor, I would move that we accept the minutes as provided to us for both meetings.
For a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to. 7-0. The treasurer's report, is there a motion regarding it?
Mayor, I'd move we accept the treasurer's report as having been presented and read.
I'll second.
Been properly moved and second. We accept the treasurer's report as having been presented and read. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to. Any correspondence, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Now we come to citizens' comments. And as has been suggested or brought up that we stick to 3 minutes, we have 4 presenters tonight. Or Victor Barton Jr.
I don't like to be first to break the ice because I can see the fear in Mr. Anabast's eyes, but it's a good thing this time. I came up here personally to thank Chief Wiseman, Lieutenant Prince, and Day for solving a problem that I had. They went above and beyond the call of duty to do it, and they made an extra effort, and I appreciate that. And I wanted to say it publicly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Krista Hodges.
Okay, I'll be less than 3 minutes, I promise. First and foremost, on behalf of Destination, we'd like to thank all of you for your continued support for our ongoing efforts. We are having the overlook at the back of the municipal parking lot cleared. We're gonna have it paved, so it'll be ADA accessible for wheelchairs, and we'll have one of our kiosk panels set into place there. As of right now, all of our members are busy collecting information for the other 9 panels that we'll have going into place. So I'm going to send an email to Bill to share with all of you for the other 9 locations. If you have any information for these other 9 locations to help us write them, pictures you want to share, we would greatly appreciate it. We also have the wall that is beside Activated Body that is going to be prepped for a mural. So if you see it being painted, it's the building beside Chase. What used to be Red Egg Grill. I could see the look on Charlie's face. He was trying to figure out what I was talking about. So if you see activity over there, that one is being prepped for mural also. So that's all the projects I have to share for right now. Thank you all again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lacey Moore.
Good evening. I'll try to be less than 3 minutes. As we found out in the Raleigh Herald, the Board of Education has yet again broke its promise that the access bus route to Halstead would only be for buses only. They're using the construction on the bridge there to use it for now parent access. This is a residential neighborhood. Its original speed is set at 25. It hasn't been used as a school zone yet. It needs to be dropped. Also, I was wondering if the police would be controlling the traffic there, because now not only we do have more pedestrians coming through and speeding school buses over 25, but now we're going to have parents going up and down that road twice a day also. So there's that, and also the additional, yeah, that's it. If the police was going to be handling the traffic, and if you guys are in communication with the school board over their continuing traffic rearrangements. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mr. Willis, Kevin Willis.
Councilmember Mayors, good evening. I just want to, I've been researching a couple things that's on the agenda, and I just want to kind of shed a little bit of light of what I've found. On there is a 1% sales tax raise for the city, which I know Montgomery's already done, Fayetteville's done, which it's an awesome thing. The only thing I did see is in the Oak Hill website, it is going to be put into a general fund and a relief of debt. That's where I'm kind of gray area, and I'd like to be brought to light on that. Because like Fayetteville, they have theirs broke out and it all goes into different categories. Like you've got Recs and Recreation, you got business development. It's broke out and it's really plain. I mean, very plain. And Montgomery's the same way. But I mean, I don't care. As a business owner, I'm gonna be contributing to that. So my thing is if we're getting something back for contributing it and in moving us forward rather than just keeping us in a mud hole. Because if it just goes in a general fund, it's not going to go nowhere. I mean, it's just going to, I mean, yeah, we'll buy a couple new a couple new vehicles for the city and this and that. But if it's not appropriated right, then, I mean, there's nothing to show where that money's going to go. So you're going to have all this influx of money and it's just going to sit in a general fund. And I mean, if you're sitting on it, it's not helping us move forward. I mean, we got the national park here and everything like that. So if we can take this money and use it wisely and show the communities, hey, this is where your 1% is going. And also, I mean, you look at Beckley uses their 1% and they have it broke down also. Theirs ain't as clear, but I know of 3 businesses that have businesses inside city limits and they have an office on the inside. Okay, so they have an office on the inside and they operate outside. And the reason why is because the 1% ain't helping them none. So like, well, I mean, Two Brothers car collision, they're on Raleigh Hill outside of city limits and they have a office on the inside. But what I'm trying to say is if we could get some clarity of where that 1% is going to go, I think it would help a lot. And I mean, it'll be a really good thing for Oak Hill because that means, you know, we're making it with the money that you're charging with B&O and everything. Y'all budgeted that. So this will be extra money that we can make this city. We can do a lot of good things and be proactive and move forward. You know, I mean, and make people want to make it a destination to come to. So like I said, I just want everybody to really go on Fayetteville's website and Montgomery's. I mean, both of those, they're plainly laid out. I mean, plain. So thank you for your time. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. That concludes the comments from citizens. We now move into department heads. Chief Wisman.
For the month of July, the police department answered 515 calls for service. Of those, 440 were general service, 8 felonies, 43 misdemeanors, 13 incidents, investigated 11 accidents, issued 290 citations, 29 warnings, 3 parking, traveled 20,130 miles patrolling, and used approximately 1,500 gallons of fuel. Made 53 arrests, 43 of those were misdemeanors, and 10 of those were felonies. I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I will address one of the things that was brought up just a little bit ago, that I have been in so far 3 meetings with the Board of Education about. One of those items in those meetings is Halstead. We will have an officer and possibly 2 stationed on Halstead. Thank you. Any questions?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have someone attending by Zoom that I believe would like to speak.
All right. Thank you,
Um,
Chief.
Christina Smith, I'm sorry, I failed to see your hand raised. If you have a public comment for 3 minutes or less.
Hi, yeah, my name is Daniel Michaels. I'm here with my business partner, Christina Smith. Just had a public comment. I wanted to just kind of, voice our opinion on item number 9 in the agenda. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, owner of Aurora Ice, a mobile shaved ice food truck. Our home is outside the city limits, yet we choose to vend inside the city of Oak Hill. Although the peddler license is the highest in the 4 cities that we're licensed to serve, on top of paying B&O taxes, we love serving in the community and the idea of building the economy in Oak Hill. As a mobile food truck, we are required to have a health inspection in every county we serve as, opposed to a brick and mortar business, which is only required in the single county that they're in. We personally love to build other businesses by setting up in their lots and allowing not only our customers to buy their goods, but their customers to buy ours, stimulating the city of Oak Hill's revenue and the West Virginia's economy in a whole. As a mobile food truck, we would love to be able to serve the community in a family fashion by not only parking on private property, which has been regulated up to this point, but city property as well with a permit, of course. For example, streets or the city park. I know I'm coming up on that 3 minute. In closing, mobile vending has become one of the best additions to small towns, which offer no brick and mortar spaces. And our nation's capital allows regulated street vending with permits and currently has over 150 registered trucks. So I'm actually getting ready to hit the road now, and I just wanted to touch base during the public speaking portion on the agenda item number 9. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, after the chief's report, I have a couple comments I'd like to make.
All right.
Number one, they're all complimentary, chief. I too was contacted by Victor Barden and Day Day, and he was very complimentary of the work you did that morning with the situation there. Also, in discussions with Mr. Hoag regarding Halsted and the traffic flow, I would compliment you on the participation and the way you have represented the city and the number of meetings you've held with the Fayette County Board of Education, which that was very good public relations and it was very good police work, for lack of a better term. We happened to have one of our officers tonight, and I blew him the other morning. It was very gratifying, although I don't know how he drew the ACE card, to see an officer on a bicycle. Not to demean him or his dignity, but it showed me that he was out among the people. So I'd compliment you for that bike patrol too. So Mayor, thank you.
Fire Chief Richardson.
Good evening. For the month of July 1st through the 30th, we had a total of 25 calls. 10 of those calls were MVAs, 5 were structure calls, 7 alarms, and 3 general service calls for the month of July. We do have our new rescue in service now. So that's an addition to our operation. Any questions?
Mr. Richardson, Chief, do you believe that the people of Oak Hill really appreciate the work that the fire department does with and what little pay the firemen are paid? It seems like to me that you do a gargantuan job. And do you think that you're really appreciated by the citizens of what we have?
I think so.
Good.
A lot of times, I hate to say a service is taken granted of, but when an individual receives that service, I think they see the magnitude of the importance of that service they do receive.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Kirk, Streets.
We don't have a whole lot going on, but we've been helping our sanitary board. They had an issue with a sewer line that was broke, and we replaced 760 foot sewer line last week.
Wow.
We finished up today. So hopefully that will take care of that problem. with Sewer going into the creek. So
Any questions of Mr. Kirk? Comments? Mr.
I
Kirk?
have one comment. I received a compliment on the street department in the city of Oak Hill from a citizen of Fayetteville, West Virginia. And I think that goes directly to your work day in terms of they said Oak Hill was looking a lot better. And Krista Hodges and those others who have done things in the city. So that's a compliment to you and your crew and to the council and those mayor and Mr. Hannibas.
Thank you. Treasurer has something to say.
I just wanted to report that the reason our sales tax money has to go into the general fund is so that we can use it later if we need to purchase something that requires payments. Then we can use the revenues from the sales tax to make those payments. If we put it in another fund, then we have to issue a bond, and we can't do that.
Well, I'd like to point clear too that Demeter says this will be a year before it comes to fruition, correct? And during that period, there will be opportunity for public meetings for people to have public input in that, correct? Thank you.
In budget hearings.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Any more department heads on this? That's it. We now come to council comments, and I'm going to give the first comment to in Ward 1 to Missy Wilshire.
I have nothing. I would like to say thank you to each and every council member. I did send a letter in to, I think I sent it to Bill. He and Demita have truly been a leaning post for me, as well as Tom. He's been my go-to for questions. So tonight's it for me. If y'all haven't heard, I've accepted a job in Raleigh County. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Councilwoman, would you come out here in the middle, please?
Can you get nicer?
Don't cry.
Since this is the last meeting of Councilwoman Wilshire, I think it's only appropriate that we give her something to remember the council by, other than memories, something that she can hang on the wall. And I have a plaque here from the city of Oak Hill, Melissa Wilshire, a commendation for meritorious and unselfish service to her community as a dedicated member of the Oak Hill City Council from 2014 to 2021. From our most appreciative and grateful mayor and city council, Oak Hill, West Virginia, August 9th, 2021. Now, a proclamation from the city of Oak Hill. Proclamation honoring Councilor Melissa Wilshire. Whereas the Oak Hill City Council is celebrating and honoring an esteemed member of council who's proven herself to be a treasure to our community. And whereas Melissa Wilshire is one of two children of Mr. and Mrs. Calvin Kidd. And whereas her proudest accomplishments are her two sons, Tyler and Scott, and her loving grandchildren, Adeline, Aspen, and Preston. And whereas she is a lifelong resident of Fayette County, an Oak Hill High School graduate, worked in the banking sector for 14 and a half years prior to accepting the position at the office of the Fayette County Prosecuting Attorney, where she received 13 years of experience. Later, she obtained a position in the Fayette County Clerk's Office. Whereas Melissa began her career at the city of Oak Hill on December 8, 2014, when she accepted the call to serve as a council member. And whereas her open communication, mutual respect, unending faith, and sincere understanding has helped us obtain perspective that shapes all aspects of decision-making. She inspired us to reach the heights and to bridge the gap between goals and reality. And whereas we would like to extend our warmest congratulations to Melissa on her new achievements as she moves forward and welcomes a new beginning, a well-deserved appointment with the West Virginia Supreme Court, the Family Court of Raleigh County. Whereas we celebrate the special moment with her as she seeks new challenges and fulfills her career dreams. Seasons change, our paths may change, but our fellowship will last forever. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Daniel E. Wright, Mayor of the City of Oak Hill, in conjunction with the Oak Hill City Council, do hereby honor Melissa Wilshire as we commemorate her years of service as a leader of our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed my signature on this, the 9th day of August, 2021, in the City of Oak Hill, County of Fayette, and in the great state of West Virginia. Daniel E. Wright, Mayor.
Oh.
Melissa, do you know all those people?
It's good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rhonda did good. Rhonda. I did the plaque. Rhonda did the proclamation.
Now, I can't guarantee the other city council members, when you speak, that you get the same treatment. So it was a one-shot deal here tonight. All right, anyone else in Ward 1 other than Missy who wants to speak?
You would know, Mayor.
I don't have to even look that direction.
I'll be very brief with my comments.
I'm sorry.
However, knowing that Missy's resignation doesn't become effective till midnight tonight, I have plenty of time.
You got 3 minutes.
She said she'd kick me.
3 minutes.
Number one, I would like to inquire as to the progress of the Ellison building. Has that been investigated? Has there been letters written in terms of the grass? Because it looks terrible.
It has. I contacted the Department of Highways. They in Lewisburg office, and they basically said it's off of our right of way. It's a water problem, which is the
Right.
result of dilapidated property that you see. So I contacted an engineer, Mr. Kirk, myself, and an engineer reviewed the problem, the underlying problem, which is flooding in that area. And I indicated to the engineer that, we have a twofold problem. Number one is the obvious physical problem of water. Number two, there's a legal question there, as Mr. Wilshire in attendance tonight can probably attest to. We have drainage that's undersized, that DOH drainage connects to, that goes under buildings through private property. It's not an easy fix. It's not an easy legal solution or physical solution, but it is being worked on. And I do not have an engineering report back yet, but yes, that's underway.
I apologize, but my exact question was the grass.
The grass, we can get in there and mow the grass, but that's an underlying problem.
Right, I understand that,
Yeah.
but it is extremely high.
Okay.
And that was my real question. I knew you'd reported the last time on the other, so,
And-
but I appreciate that.
Right. And I think, and I'm sorry, I didn't directly answer your question, but I think
I'm
one of
sorry.
one of the reasons the building's not in good condition and that you see grass and stuff is the problem I'm talking about. So I want to get to the bottom of it. And I want to have, I'll draw Mr. Ellison into the conversation as well.
Thank you. The next item is the power pole crossing the library. Finally, someone has claimed ownership, the power company. And the power company, Mr. Ranson at the power department, or Appalachian Power in the engineering department, has told me that it will be taken care of, that the electrical wiring shouldn't have been attached to the state's pole, that it is out of compliance, and they will be taking that. He said, I don't know how long, but we're going to take care of it. So that's to share with council. Second item is the water tank. As you recall, we approved and okayed this logo for the tank if and when we could afford it or we got figures. It presently is in their graphics department, redrafting the logo. Third item is the veterans location. I compliment Councilman Oxley for his idea on a location. I have been in contact with Tandy Jones, Laura Jones, and what's the Jones lady in Greenbrier County? Pokey Dot or Pootie? What? Tootie. And they are very receptive to seeing that that comes to fruition. And Tandy, who's in Carolina, is their contact person. And he is supposed to send me a list of questions that they would like answered prior to any commitment on the property. But Tom, that was an excellent idea in my single opinion. Next thing is EPA. You may do this in your report, Bill, and if so, I'll wait. Minden, you would have met with the EPA regarding Minden. Did that meeting occur?
It did. I met with EPA.
Will you give that in your report or you want to do it now?
I can talk about the meeting with EPA.
In your report?
I can do that.
Okay. Next item are the do good letters or do better letters or beautification letters that Mr. Fowle said were good. Have we sent those out yet to Elmore's, the property on Lee Roads and BB&T? Or did you remember, or, you know, where we said we just.
Elmore's property and BB&T.
BB&T garage. And now that's and Rhodes, I think it's Coach, what's the assistant principal? I forget Bill's name, Bill.
Staples.
Staples. And that was where I asked it, and Fowle said it would be good, you know, we just friendly letter that says, you know, the city is interested in beautification, and we would respectfully request that you give some consideration to the properties you own at such and such address.
Right.
Thank you. God bless you. And that.
Okay. The BB&T garage actually is going to be addressed in a separate manner through.
Gotcha. No problem.
Structural Inspection Board.
So Elmore and
Bill Staples.
That's all I have, gentlemen, ladies. Thank you.
Anything else from Ward 1? At large, Councilman.
Mayor, I have three items. One, I would like to add my congratulations and appreciation to Councilor Wilshire. She has been a very effective member of council, very cooperative, even though we disagreed on a number of things. We did it in a civil manner. And I wish her nothing but the best in her new direction, and we will miss you.
Thank you.
So don't forget where you came from. Thank
I'm
you.
not moving.
Thanks, Missy. Second thing is, there was a movement to, because of the COVID outbreak and recent staff infections, and not Staphylococcus, but staff here. We were concerned about attendance tonight, and we're making a move to kind of restrict access by showing a vaccination card, mask, something of that nature. And although I do agree that if it continues to go in this manner, we need to do something. But I talked to Councilor Perry before the meeting. We agree that we should keep that on our radar. And if it looks like 2 weeks out from the next public meeting, we're going to need something done like that, list it publicly so people would be aware and make the appropriate, direction to bring a mask and or their vaccine card, whatever is determined to be the appropriate move. So I think we need to do that. We've had two people in our office, a member of council, a number of people from one church that came down with us. So not being a medical provider, I don't know what's around the corner, and I'm not sure they do either, but we do need to protect our people here and on our staff too. So, and the last thing I have is a good thing. Lieutenant Prince and Officer Hogan. I had an issue in my neighborhood, that wasn't being addressed by, not necessarily by my neighbor, but the owner of a dog. And I tried working with the owner. There was reasons why that could not happen, but through the efforts of Lieutenant Prince, Officer Hogan, and Russell from the Humane Society, it was handled well. And I wish the animal well. I really do, because I'm a dog lover, but they did a magnificent job, and they have other things that they probably need to be doing other than that, but I appreciate what they did. So thank you. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ward 2 now.
I have one question, and then I have one good comment to make, but I had one question from Bill, I guess, or whoever. I remember we talked about the last meeting. Forgot to follow up with you about the welcome to Oak Hill sign down in, I forgot what we said about that. We're gonna put it down here by.
Oh, on
Greentown.
Route 19?
Yeah. Have we moved on that, or?
We have.
Okay.
And we've moved as fast as molasses, and that's as fast as we can move.
That's good.
Now, let
Okay.
me tell you seriously what's going on with it. That parcel of property at Greentown beside 19, before the P Ridge Bridge, there's a parcel owned by the city of Oak Hill that we're planning for a welcome sign. It was actually owned but out of the city limits, owned by Oak Hill, but out of the city limits. It was supposed to be in the city limits. It was annexed back when Tom Oxley was city manager. There was an annexation order that never made it into the order book at the Fayette County Courthouse. It was never generated or never filed. That was corrected Wednesday of last week. And just now it's been filed. So now we can move forward with annexing that parcel that belongs to the city. And council's already given approval to annex that. So we'll be working on that this week. So it's moving.
Okay, good. And my other was just a comment. And I've talked to Chief Wisman about it. And this is a good comment. I was around, two incidents around one in the neighborhood with some officers, and I wanted to give them a shout out. I think it was Officer Waples, Kennedy, and Ratcliffe. Is that what it is? Yes. Just the jobs that they've done. They're all young officers. Just really went above and beyond, what they probably had to do. So I think, just giving them a shout out there. I think we got some good young officers in our town here. And so that was really good to see, just their whole temperament and level of caring for the people involved. And one of them was a dog, but caring for the dog and the people involved in the incident. So I just wanted to give the chief a
You
shout
talking
out.
about the rail trail?
Yeah, I was walking on the rail trail when I was helping them get the dog out of the culvert down there, and those officers actually rode their ATV down there, and we picked them up and took them to the vet. So, but they were really good, and I was just really happy to see that. That's all I have.
I have a question, Bill. Have you followed up any on your speed signs that I gave to you at the last meeting?
We did. I got with Chief Wisman after the meeting, because that's an enforcement item. So we sat down and talked, and Chief Wisman said that he had some good sources for those. And Chief, do you want to talk about that for a minute? Or? I have contacted two of them willing to send us a sample or to do a demo, and that should be probably next.
I've done some traveling here in the last couple of weeks, and it seems like when something's on your mind, boom, you see it everywhere. And I've seen them in just about every town that I've been. And they're great little reminder to, oops, I'm going a little bit too fast, slow down. Those would be great out Halsted. It would be great. And I echo his sentiment on Halsted. I know what it's going to be with traffic out there and why they waited to start that bridge project until school started. And I went through there today with the construction site set up and there's nobody even working. Nobody even out there today. So that's, slower. Okay, well, that makes sense. But yeah, it's like, I don't know why they scheduled it to start, but if we could get one of those signs in Halsted, that's be awesome. That's all I had, Mayor.
Smallwood, do you have any?
Yes, a couple of things here. The banner there that we have that says mask up out in front of McDonald's, I think it is. It needs adjusted
Okay.
or taken down or
I think it's actually
torn.
I think.
Yeah, it's,
It might, I mean, it might not be, but it is.
and someone needs to look at the grass there in front of the Long John's, the old Long John Silver's building. It's getting pretty high there. And the building there beside that Ficon bush. You know the location I'm talking about? Well, as you go by, you can look up through in one of the windows and you can see the roof falling in.
Right.
Do we have anything on the Harlem Heights playground as far as the lights and stuff? Have we moved any?
No,
cameras?
we still, have you heard from the power company on that? I haven't. Yeah, I'm having trouble, to be honest, AP with that. So we'll get, they meet with me tomorrow morning. We'll see if we can get something on that.
And the signs for the dog park, are they up or?
Oh, the dog park, yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
With the signage.
Okay. And the Minden Playground at Mr. Fruit?
That's going to be with the EPA. I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay, all right. And the James Ellis marker?
It's ordered, reported last month that it's ordered. Not real certain how long that takes. Mayor, do you know? Is it
7 to 11 months?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how long it takes.
Yeah. I actually looked through the paperwork today, but.
And also, I would like to thank Mr. Kirk for addressing the problem there on Elizabeth Street. He came by one day and picked me up and showed me what was done, the problem. Appreciate that.
Regarding mayor comments, the only comment I have is to thank Missy Wilshire for her service to her community, for serving on council. I knew Missy years before council when she worked at the prosecutor's office. I was circuit clerk of Fayette County, and the prosecutor and the circuit clerk interacted almost daily, and Missy would come over always carrying a bunch of files or a bunch of papers constantly. I kept wondering, where are you getting these things? You just keep bringing them over. There's not even more room here. She always had a stack in her arms every day, bringing them over and taking them back or whatever else she was doing with them. But I always try to get you to take them back, but you said you had to bring them over. So thank you, Missy, for your time and service to the town through the work on the city council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other than that, a minute from the minutes, see if you find these interesting. June the 3rd, 1940, the Oak Hill City Council, upon a motion duly made, seconded, and carried, L.R. Wilhelm was to be a full-time policeman. Chief Wisman, he is to be a full-time policeman during the months of June, July, and August only. And his salary was to be determined by the mayor. The mayor set his salary at 83 cents a day. But he only worked the summer months. 83 cents a day. Also, June 3rd, 1940, the councils passed the following resolution. Any person who shall stand or place himself along or near any public street within the city of corporate limits of the city of Oak Hill for the purpose of soliciting an automobile ride from a passing motorist and who shall at such time solicit an automobile ride by word or by gesture, or both, from such passing motorist shall be fined not less than $1 and not more than $10 for each offense. So no hitchhiking in Oak Hill, $1 to $10 fine. On June the 26th, 1939, it was moved and seconded that license be granted to Mary Ross, who owns the Friendly Inn. Provided that she had state licenses, also she be granted the privilege of conducting dances so long as they were conducted in an orderly manner, or until such time as persons in that section of the city in which she conducted the same made a complaint, then she would be forced to quit. Also, she would not be allowed to sell beer after 12 o'clock. So they're pretty rough on dancing and drinking beer in 1939. And Mary Ross, who ran the Friendly Inn. Which now moves us to unfinished business. Number one, a bid opening for demolition of residential structure located 46 Beaver Road, map 59E, parcel 28, owned by Joseph and Sharon Kelly, deceased, in care of Joseph A. Kelly Jr., Mr. Hannabas.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I could, I'd like to address a couple things that got brought up during council comments. A couple of people brought up the EPA situation in Mendon. I met with Aaron Mraz, the current team leader EPA in Mendon. And Mr. Hazley, have you met Aaron? Or?
I have met Aaron and matter of fact, spent quite a bit of time with him. They sampled my yard about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Well, I met with Aaron, and my purpose, and I'm actually the Public Works Director and I were going somewhere else to look at another item, and I asked him to run by there while we were out. And I'm glad I did, because I don't believe you're going to believe what I'm going to tell you if I didn't have a witness. I stopped and I talked to him, and the purpose for me meeting with him was to inquire about the playground. That's the number one goal. That I'd already corresponded with him with email, and he said he would rather speak on site. So I waited 2 or 3 weeks and did that. And my question was, this is what we want to do. We're contemplating accepting a donation of some property and building a community playground, which we all desire to do that. And considering the fact that it's in proximity of a Superfund site, I need to coordinate those efforts with EPA and find out what we can do, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, all those bits of advice. And he said, I'm not going to tell you anything. Nothing. No advice. None. And I said, well, not that the playground's insignificant, but on top of what I'm telling you, we also have a multi-million-dollar sewer line improvement project planned for Mendon. And on top of that, we have a multi-million-dollar stormwater mitigation project that I'm very confident we'll get a very large grant for. I ran that by council. And that's going to involve a lot more earth moving than any playground ever thought about. So if I'm not getting satisfaction on a very easily described playground, I have real concern about these other 2 projects. And the folks in Mendon, I pointed at houses at that time when I was talking to them. I said, they deserve better than that. They need to know because Superfund sites last 20 or 30 years. Folks in Mendon can't go on with subpar sewage collection systems for 20 or 30 years. It's time to address flooding in Mendon. It's time to do a lot of things like build playgrounds. I found the EPA to be of no help, frankly. Now, I know what happens from experience when we turn over a shovel of dirt in Mendon. I think everybody here knows what happens. I get raked over the coals. We end up having to special handle things that we shouldn't have to special handle. Millions of dollars turn into tens of millions of dollars. So I'm dismayed. So I turned around, what I did, some of you may know him as Speaker of the House of Delegates, Roger Henshaw, who is a chemist and an attorney specializing in environmental matters. I called Mr. Henshaw and I asked him for advice. So I don't know where else to turn. I'm not getting anywhere with EPA. And now I tried before the playground, I actively talked to EPA in connection with the sewer improvement project, and the stormwater mitigation grant is actually through EPA. So I don't know. I mean, I'm between a rock and a hard spot. And Mr. Kirk, just to get your acknowledgement, is that not what happened?
I mean, I get same answers when I talk with him.
Yep.
And he's in a position where he's not going to say, yes, you should go ahead and do this, because then that's going to come back. He's got to back that up. They don't know. They're still in the process of trying to see how bad that site is leaked. I know they're coming in August, towards the end of August, maybe 1st of September to do drilling down to bedrock and install some monitoring wells. They're probably going to be another couple years out before they have a site plan together on how they're going to remediate that site.
I think it'll be longer.
It probably will. And yeah, I think Percy's is completely out of any area where that any type of contamination would be. But irregardless, the people of Minden deserve to have their water problems fixed and the sewer problems fixed. We still have to live there.
Right.
Whether or not the EPA is going to come in 10 years from now and do anything. I think we still need to move ahead with those projects. We could probably let the playground go. I don't want to.
I don't either.
But the sewer and the flooding, we need to fix that.
Right. Well, take up for me the next time you see me in the news over.
I will.
It's just a thought, but you may want to run it by Jonathan and Jim Kelch both. This individual you're talking about is somebody that you're going to have to work with for a while. So you don't want to immediately go over his head, but I would address a brief letter to him outlining the comments that he made and give him a reasonable time, 2 to 3 weeks to respond. And then you've gone on record. He does not come back to you and say, I'm not going to tell you anything, just doesn't respond at all. Then I think that's a time that, again, I would ask Jim or Roger both. The next step, I wouldn't hesitate to go beyond him. I hate to say it, but they're bureaucrats to begin with, and we may have some in this building. But there's bureaucrats that are productive, and there are some that are not so productive. He sounds like the second class.
Oh, he's a nice.
He's a very
young
nice
man.
I've met him
Yeah.
before myself.
Yeah.
So.
And
I just
I'm
don't
not-
think that he has in his portfolio that he has the authority that he can say, yeah, you should go ahead and do that. So I agree with Tom. We need to move another rung up the ladder.
I made the comment to Day as we drove away from that meeting. I said, he can't say anything other than that. That's what he's been told to say. It's not,
Yeah.
I don't mean to take a personal swipe at Mr. Morales, but.
Mayor, I'd like to weigh in also.
All right.
I agree that we should proceed with the projects because of the time it would take to bring it to fruition, and it would be wait time. But I kind of disagree with my colleague over there about the playground. I think we ought to proceed with the playground. It's something that Steve has pursued since he's been up here. We'd have to accept the property, right?
We would, yes, sir.
Simply because if we're saying 2 to 5 years, that's the amount of time that children could use that facility. We've already committed some monies to it. So, I'd like to see us proceed with the playground too.
I would, I mean, my inclination is I would like to as well.
Right,
You know,
I understand.
don't-
Would Stephen New's pending suit have any bearing on any of this, or are you aware? I know you talked to him.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. And I mean, I want to proceed, and at the same time, I want to respect the PCB problem in Mendon. I don't want to
Certainly.
be disrespectful and do things nilly-willy, but
I don't think anyone wants to disrespect the problem,
right.
but I think in the meantime, we're talking about a period of time. We all know government moves slow. Sometimes you wonder if it moves at all. So as Steve said, there's people deserve in between times. The children deserve. The other thing I'd like to do while I have the floor is I'd like to compliment Bill and Demita. They're truly professionals. Bill has a wealth of institutional knowledge. I spent probably 45 minutes with him the other day talking about some other issues. And in that 45 minutes, he must have had 15 phone calls on different issues and concerns that people were expressing. I said, man, I couldn't put up that 2 minutes. So I would compliment him on the tasks and the manner in which he handles it and responds and gets back. By the way, did you get in touch with Mr. Ray?
Hmm. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Okay, let me speak about one other thing that got brought up, signage, which are related to another item, brand, for lack of a better term, branding with the New River National Park. We spoke about a PR firm. I'd like to roll a lot of things into that, signage included, branding, signage, the whole 9 yards. We're looking at the sign we talked about at Greentown, sign at Dog Park, a sorely needed sign at Needles Eye Park, improved signage at our 2 other parks, our White Oak Rail Trail, and it all needs branded, and it needs to flow together, and at the same time we need to say, hey, we're right here. We're literally, our boundary touches the New River. So anyway, I did a search, and I don't know these folks. Maybe some of you all do, but I ended up contacting Tom Sussman and Rachel Kaufman of TSG Solution as consultants for PR consultants. I spoke, actually, last time I spoke with Rachel Kaufman was today about that, and laid out the fact that, hey, it's actually a good opportunity because we need a bunch of things that relate to branding, signage, the whole 9 yards. So I just wanted to let you know I'm pursuing that. So, and I tried the Arnold Agency without success. But anyway. Okay, Mayor, I'm sorry for that, but I needed to talk about it now. So
Mr. Perry said you got 15 phone calls while he was talking to you. They were all from me. And you didn't tell me anything.
Oh, really? He must have got 16 in there.
Okay. And Mayor, as you announced, this is a bid opening for residential structure located at 46 Beaver Road. And computers freezing up a little bit. And I have a couple of sealed bids here.
Did they bid them both together, like as one total or separately?
There's actually 3 residential structures slated, and I think I have 2 bids, and I believe the 2 bids combine all 3 of them. So I'll go ahead and read all the bids for all 3 items on the.
Which items are those, Bill?
Where's the other?
Which items are it? 1, 2, and 1?
Oh, at 4.
4, 5.
One what?
1, 2, and 4.
No, four is
Oh, no, that's the city.
just 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah, there's 2 in item 2 and 1 in item 1.
And the bids you received are combined.
Oh,
I
that's
think.
As to me,
two.
that's
I
okay.
think.
You don't
I'm
know
opening
yet.
them right now. I'm looking. Hang on just a minute. Okay, the first bid is from Markham, MARCUM Insulation. And Mr. Markham did not itemize the structures. He listed 13 Poff Road and 40 Poff Road and 46 Beaver Road. The bottom line is $26,000 for 3 structures. Let me see, let me just make sure. That there's not an itemization. There's not. So the bottom line on all 3 of those agenda items is $26,000 and 0 cents. The other sealed bid is from Empire Salvage and Recycling. Anita, if you'll add these together for me. I'm sorry. Yeah, add them together in your head. That might be right.
Okay.
46 Beaver Road is a bottom line of $6,000 for that one structure. $38 Hoff Road is $6,000 even for that one structure. And 40 Hoff Road is $6,000 even for that one structure. So we have 18,000 versus versus 26,000.
I could add that.
Mayor, I move that we accept the bids on all 3 projects from Empire
Salvage.
Salvage.
I'll second him. Charles second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Accept the bids for all 3 structures from Empire Salvage at Bluefield.
Bluefield or Princeton. Bluefield.
Bluefield, West Virginia. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes,
One,
sir.
one, and I think it's more, yeah, I just got a question. About just seems like how do these houses get on the list? Like, it just seems like we're always tearing down houses and mending. I'm just, like, if we just ride around?
We tear down others. We go on complaints. We go on houses I see, houses that burn.
Okay.
I pay attention to those. No one just burned in Mendon, so it's going to be on my list. And there are houses in throughout the area of Oak Hill, and there are a lot in Mendon right now. And those are fast disappearing. But there are, I mean, historically, there's been dilapidated structures in Mendon. And, but there are some, I know we tore down one across the
Yeah.
street from where you live.
And my other question, I guess, is do we, I think you might ask this before, do we give any weight to when we're looking at dilapidated structures like, or points to ones that are seen more than not?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay.
We pay attention to the view shed, whether it's visible from one or more properties or from a roadway. Yes, sir. That's in that scoring process y'all looked at. It's
Right,
been some
yeah.
time since you've looked at it, but that you all approved.
Question there. After we're tearing these structures down, is there anything the city can do as far as obtaining that land?
To acquire the land?
Yeah.
We place liens on it. I don't know. That's a good legal question. If I will see if we can acquire some of it. Some of it you don't want.
Well, that's probably true too, but if
Yeah.
you take enough properties, and put them together.
If I might, Charles, at the conference this past week, two of the speakers, one's Senator Weld and one is the state treasurer, talked about just about what you're talking about is municipalities, when it comes to tax sales, have no standing on properties with liens. In other words, if we got a $4,000 lien, it's just money down the drain. Trying to find a way, and Bill and Demita, even through home rule, tried to address that year before last.
That's about right. Maybe a little bit longer.
Didn't make any headway, but the movement's not over. And we're gonna keep trying, because you think of all the properties that we demolished. We just beating on their door, maybe they'll finally just give up and say, yo, go ahead. But it's a good question.
What I can do too, and I'll try to send, I'm making a note right now to send council an ordinance that I actually drafted through home rule that changes the state law for tax sales. And I thought it was very good until the state auditor called and said that he'll see us in Supreme Court if we pursue that.
We've got another state auditor now too. So-
Yeah,
so-
okay.
Supreme Court. Well, Messy's gonna be working Supreme Court.
But Charles, I'll send that to you.
Mayor, you have a motion that's been made and second.
Yes, I was waiting for all the comments.
I know, I understand.
Any more comments? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to 7-0, which moves us to number 2.
All right, took care of
We've
it.
already done that.
We've done that one. And let's see, that's photographs of it
Already done it.
already. Okay,
We're down to 3.
down to 3.
All right. Consideration and adoption of a resolution to lay assessment lien on property located at 103 Rock Lake Road, map 59J, parcel 40, owned by Ace Adventure Resort.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt that resolution to lay the assessment.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Property moved and seconded. Any discussion? I just have one question, Mr. Hannafast, regarding that. Can't Ace afford it to tear down these structures before the city has to go through this long process of putting a lien? I mean,
I would
can they
think,
move forward and do it? Are they're not broke, are they?
I would think. They have torn down some. They don't get reclaimed very nicely. I think Steve will agree too, but
Yeah, they try. In the house that recently burnt, that is an Ace house.
Yep.
And there's also while I'm thinking about it, an empty one directly across the street from there that we
From
need to
you?
look at, across from the one that burnt.
Oh, okay. I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. That family moved out about 3 or 4 months ago. I've seen no activity there, but I did see a young teenager there today, just kind of sauntering around. So I don't know what he was looking to get into, but probably no good.
All right, been properly moved second. Any more discussion? Here again, we'll vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to, 7-0, which moves us to number 4. Consideration and adoption of resolution for the city to demolish a structure located on Minden Road, map 33, parcel 127, owned by Frederick Riggins and King Moses Riggins. Annabeth.
Okay, this is just what you said. It's a resolution for the city to demolish. They've been, owners have been properly notified and that they've been ordered by the city council to demolish the structure. 20 days has passed, and now it's time for council to consider a resolution for the city to demolish that structure.
I move that we adopt the resolution to demolish the structure owned by Frederick and Riggins and King Moses Riggins.
I'll second.
And properly moved in second, that we consider and adopt a resolution to demolish structures located on Minden Road, map 33, parcel 127. Any discussion?
Again, if we could accomplish, get that land, it'd be even better.
We'll now vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to, 7-0, which moves us to bid opening for paving of streets.
Okay. We had a pre-bid conference, and we had one contractor attend, and I have one bid for paving. Contractor that showed up for the bid is Southern West Virginia Paving. They historically have done a lot of paving in Oak Hill. Sometimes they get bid against, sometimes they don't, sometimes they even lose a bid. But the city streets that the administration proposed needed paved to council, and council approved. These are all on there, along with some other areas like the parking at Harlem Heights, the Russell E. Matthews, I'm gonna say it right, Russell E. Matthew Park, and the police department and fire department parking lot, and a host of streets. And I gotta find it. Bill, maybe I'll never, there we go. That's a bid. My budget, through the magic of Tyler Bragg and GIS, is $371,310. That's the budget that Mr. Bragg put together.
Oh.
Bottom line, $366,650.
Yeah,
Good job.
excellent.
And you can't have him, but
Mayor, I move we accept the bid for paving the streets as presented to and approved by the city council at the last meeting.
I second the motion.
Properly moved in second, we accept the bid opening for the paving of streets in Oak Hill. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to, 7-0, which brings us to number 6, the foul ordinance.
okay. And I don't have a whole lot to report. I have an apology to give counsel from Mr. Moss. They have still not picked that issue up to make a recommendation, but they will, either to recommend to amend, repeal, or to recommendation to do nothing, but you all will get that. So,
Mayor, do we have to have their recommendation at this point? We've tried for 2 months to get this. And
Yeah, we have. Is it required to have the?
no.
I think to change the zoning ordinance, I think there is a requirement. You don't have to pay, you don't have to follow that recommendation, but I believe there is a requirement of Mr. Jackson is on the,
I think so. I think it's got to go to them and then come back
right.
if you don't have anything.
So what if they never give us a recommendation?
And all I can answer, Mr. Perry, is Mr. Moss did make his apologies. Finally got back in touch with me, or I finally followed up. I can't remember. And he said they would take the issue up.
When do they meet again?
I'm not
Usually the
sure.
week before council meeting, the next council, it's like the week, the Monday before council or something like that, the Tuesday before council. Yeah.
So we'll keep this on the agenda for the next time.
Okay, that'd be fine. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Now, this fowl ordinance is, the way I understand it, if you already have chickens, you can keep them, but no new chickens.
Well, that would be contingent upon what we would pass and what they would recommend as far as grandfathering anyone in. But you're 99% correct. And the 1% may be not, but you're right, Mayor.
And a lot of middle room there too, I believe. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's
You
all right.
want to table this or?
I'll make a motion that we table the foul ordinance.
I'll second it.
I would amend that motion that we table it until the next council meeting.
All right, it's been an amendment to table the fowl ordinance until the next council meeting. Any discussion? Hearing now, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to, 7-0. Do you have any idea, Mr. Hannabis, how many people in Oak Hill do own chickens? Or
No,
ducks?
but I don't off the top of my head, but I can find out. It's probably in the dozens now.
You expect nothing else from chickens but the dozens, wouldn't you? Yeah.
What's that?
You expect nothing from the chickens but the dozens, that's for sure.
Dozen eggs, dozen
Dozen.
chickens.
Okay, I just didn't know how many chicken farmers we have in town.
There's not enough to crow about.
But it's a growing population and growing requests.
We want to make sure we get this exactly right. There's no end to this.
I know.
No end to it. And Mr.
Number
On to
7.
number
Mr. Oxley
7.
got it started over.
Yeah, and
Number 7.
Mr. Moss is running foul of
Oh.
Mr. Perry.
No end to this, is there?
No, yeah.
Number
All right, we now move to the Crown Act Ordinance. Mr. Hannibal, you have anything to say about that?
Okay. In front of you is the unlawful discriminatory practices that speaks of protective hairstyles, and discrimination means to exclude from or fail to refuse to extend to a person equal opportunities because of their hair textures and protective hairstyles historically associated with a particular race, and includes to separate or segregate based on your hair or hairstyle. And the ordinance goes on to cover several different instances, such as housing, employment, even covers membership in labor unions. And I trust most everybody read this in your packet. And is there any questions about?
Well, the only question I have, and somebody tell me if I'm wrong, which I probably am, but I don't think the Board of Education in Pitt County has anything that addresses this. And as I recall, this came about as a young man from a neighboring county school, high school, was discriminated against because of his hairstyle. So that's a question I would want to know an answer from the board. Secondly, I don't have it in front of me, but when I read the proposed ordinance, I didn't see anything about any penalty. And number 3, I just don't know how a municipal government would be able to enforce such an ordinance? I mean, if there's a penalty named, are you gonna take it before the municipal court? It's a human rights thing. Typically, in the county, they address those things. I'm all for trying to help the cause, but I don't know if we're the right forum to do that. I mean, I'd appreciate any comments on it.
Honestly, I thought about enforcement like I do on any ordinance I write for council. And that is a tough nut to crack. What happens when someone walks in the front door of City Hall or calls me and says, I've been discriminated against based on my hairstyle? We have I frankly, maybe the chief does, I frankly don't know how to investigate that. I can investigate a lot of things, but that's one that I would have difficulty with.
Yeah, I don't know where we could get some guidance from.
There's
you know-
been
you
been
know,
several cities who, enacted that
did
policy. Beckley, Charleston, Morgantown.
And see, Beckley helped you on this, did they not?
Right.
But they
They
didn't
all
put
have
anything
hu-
in there about enforcement.
They all have human rights.
Oh, they have human rights
So it goes
commissions.
through them.
So would not, if there was a violation, if a city, they could appeal to the Human Rights Commission?
Right.
Or if a judge ruled, he could rule it to be taken to the Human Rights Commission as an enforcement venue.
Yeah, I just.
It's new.
It needs to be.
It's new. The legislature just passed it.
Right, last year.
Yeah, I think, frankly, and I know a
I
little
don't
bit
think-
about it because I read for several hours over this little simple ordinance. Your human rights commissions that are set up in Beckley, Huntington, Morgantown, those cities, the volume of that civil rights commission in their ordinance, if you print it out, it's going to be about that thick. Now, I'm not being lazy, but I don't know if we have the staff to create, maintain, and enforce through a civil rights commission. And I'm not trying to be lazy about that at all. I'm just trying to be honest about it. The mechanics that entails the civil rights commission.
Would you feel comfortable approaching, I think Tom Sofer was on the one in Beckley, used to be on city council, maybe approaching him and see if you could have a sit down, pick their brain and see how, I mean, we've all said in the past, let's don't put an ordinance in place that we can't enforce.
Right.
And so,
I'm not sure that the state passed it either. Do you think it got passed? I don't think it did because there was just a lot of
Right.
issues with it.
I can tell you too, with the Civil Service Commission, in the definitions, it's much broader than the Crown Act. The Crown terminology and definitions are in there, but it's much broader than that.
right.
It involves age discrimination, sex discrimination, sexual orientation discrimination, veteran status discrimination.
Gender identity.
Right.
Yeah, all-
And
all
I'm
those
going to leave out persons with disabilities. It is quite a laundry list. And
And that's, and the Crown Act was just included in that.
it is included.
It's
in
not,
it.
it's separate.
Correct.
Yeah, I would rather address it separately myself, if that's doable. I mean,
What was that, Tom? I missed what you said.
excuse me, I'd say I'd rather address it just as the Crown Act myself and not include all those other things.
Right.
We just muddy the waters. I think it's more likely to be passed just as a Crown Act ordinance, but so I hate to do this because we tabled it last month, but I'm gonna make a motion, we table it for further study, give our city manager opportunity to maybe make some contacts with other human rights commissions, go from there.
Tom, would you like to attach a date certain to that? Or would you be all right if it table to a date certain?
I would say no later than our October council meeting.
Okay.
I'll try to contact him immediately.
So you're saying October is part of your motion?
Yes. You second?
I second.
Properly moved and seconded that we table the Crown Act Ordinance until the meeting in October. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion is agreed to. 7-0. Number 8, appointments to City of Oak Hill Building Commission and the Recreation Committee.
Okay. We solicited for volunteers for these committees. And for the Building Commission, we received a letter from Terrence Damron, who submitted a letter of interest to the city for consideration for the Building Commission membership.
Do they have to be a resident of the city? I don't think that's in the city.
That's
is
not
it?
quite in the city, no.
No, not in the city.
Yeah, they're way out. Pea Ridge.
I feel like that one does because it's also political. I don't know for sure, but I just feel like they have to be members.
I'm sorry, Demeter, I can't hear you.
I think that they do have to be a member of the city, I mean, a resident of the city because they're involving lease purchases and that kind of, building, issuing bonds, and I think they have to be a resident.
I don't think this person's a resident. Is
I don't think so, man.
it? It is on Pea Ridge.
Are the people aware of that situation? That they have to be a resident of the city?
I would think you would assume it, Mr. Smallwood.
Everyone you have on
Assuming
there,
and
Well,
everyone you have on there now is a resident, correct?
right.
I don't think this person's eligible, I don't believe.
So he was the only applicant.
For the Building Commission, yes.
Okay. So we can't move on that
Missy
because
would
he's not a
think
resident.
Missy.
Yeah,
You don't get paid.
Almost
think
like
she
being on
could.
council.
The other position is for the Recreation
I don't think he can.
Committee. And we have a volunteer in Tara Harmon, who has written a letter.
Where's she at?
Johnson Street. And lived in the city of Oak Hill for past 5 years.
I would move that we accept the applicant, Tara
Harmon.
Harmon, for the Recreation Committee.
I'll second that motion.
Right. Tara Harmon has been a motion a second to appoint Tara Harmon to the Recreation Committee. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to, 7-0.
If council would agree, I'll thank both of these, congratulate one for being selected and republicize the vacancy on the Building Commission.
And would you make contact with Mr. Dameron to explain to him why
I will.
his, or a letter or something?
Right.
And in the ad, they want to make it very clear.
I will.
You must be a resident of the city. Number 9, street
Wright,
vendors ordinance.
Wright.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask a question. Pea Ridge, is that part of the city?
No, sir.
It's not, no parts of Pea Ridge.
No, sir.
At some point in time, I think we need to consider annexing that area.
Will you go with me when I go?
I'll go with you. I've had some requests for that to be done, believe it or not.
I have too.
Yes.
I've had some calls.
Thank you, Mayor.
I have.
I said at some point in time, I think we need to look at that.
We
I'll
know-
go
We
with
know
you.
that's the only way you're gonna be able to do it now. Is if they request to be taken in.
Right.
There is no minor boundary.
Right, right.
Yes, I've had calls the last 2 years from various people wanting to
You
split.
can go with us too then, Mayor.
I can say I wasn't there. I just thought I'd pass on the info.
Okay.
Where do we have to go, first of all?
Down P. Ridge, door to door.
Number 9.
I'll go. I'm not. Number 9, Miss Janie said.
Yeah, number 9, I said street vendors ordinance, Mr. Hannibal.
Okay. Council, we've looked at the current code for street vendors and as I pointed out some time back, I believe we needed some clarification. There's some folks here that are interested in the subject of street vendors. There's I have a lot more questions than I do answers. I did a good deal of research, and there are 3 codes in your packet: the Charleston, West Virginia, Wheeling, and Huntington. And I trust you all had an opportunity to at least scan these a little bit. And my favorite one, and of course this is 100% council, but my favorite one that would need a lot of changing, but still, I think Charleston, West Virginia, and I don't know how you all feel about the ones that were in your packet, if you had an opportunity to look at them.
I may have misunderstood, but I thought you were supposed to bring to us a proposed ordinance.
That was my walking orders, but with the instruction I have, it would have been all over I have no idea whether I would have come up with something that you all were the least bit interested in passing. It's a broad subject.
So where are you suggesting we go from here?
I'm suggesting that if
The
council
mayor
can
form
give
a
me
committee?
some guidance, that I'd be glad to write one. If you like the Charleston ordinance as opposed to the Wheeling, and
All 3 of them are different.
yeah, they're vastly different. It's a huge subject, and it will consume hours to.
I'd like to suggest that the mayor appoint a committee to review with City Manager Hannibal to bring back to the council a proposed ordinance.
And I'd like to amend your ordinance to suggest that they include in that committee a brick and mortar business in the city. And
I agree.
And one of the vendors who usually come to our city.
No problem, no problem.
Get their
I
input.
concur and will second that, Tom.
All right, let's go back a second then. This committee that you want the mayor to appoint, how many? How many members?
You always have to have an odd number in case you get a tie. 5?
5. And you say
No more than 7, right?
I'd say 5.
5, and you say that at least one has to be a brick and mortar owner, and the other has to be, at least one other. Or do you want to then to say there must be one of this, one of that, or at least one of each?
One of each.
Just one of each, and 3 others could be
Council member, yourself,
anyone.
and Mr. Hannibal. That's 5.
All right, so you want a council person? You want the mayor? You want the city manager? And that will equal your 5.
Right.
All right, let's take care of part of this with the city council person. Who wants to be that?
Diane Jane would be excellent.
Yes, she
Yes.
would, wouldn't she? Yeah.
Hard to tell if she's smiling behind that mask or not.
She just said accepted. You didn't see her?
I didn't hear her say it. You will? All right.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Hannibal, we have Councilwoman Janey, the mayor, you, and we need a vendor and a brick and mortar person, so we can help me find those this week.
I think we
There
have,
were vendors, there were
one of-
street vendors in the.
Michelle.
You know, I'd
Donnie.
remind us that we were to stick to our agenda and not interact
we have,
when we started the meeting. So that would be the mayor's selection.
Yeah.
Or if those persons would be interested in writing a letter of interest or conversation or email, I would see if that be done. I mean, I would suggest you do that, Mayor.
Well, who's out there though, who is a vendor? These 2, okay. All right,
Write a letter and drop it off tomorrow.
Or talk to him before you leave.
yeah, just talk to me right after the meeting. I'll get you-
Move the previous question.
All right. properties moved and seconded. Get back to what question it was now. Let's see, street vendors, yeah.
That the mayor appointed.
Yeah, the mayor the mayor appointed committee. So that's going to be taking the place of the street vendors ordinance. So we were trying to get an ordinance put together to bring back. All right. It's been properly moved and second regarding the mayor appointing a committee of a brick and mortar, a vendor, a councilwoman, Janie, the mayor, the city manager, to come back with a street vendor ordinance that the city council can consider and possibly adopt and or amend. Any more discussion? Here then we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to 7-0. We now move to the new business, Destination Downtown Oak Hill Bears and Brews Festival. And here comes Miss Bears and Brews.
Back to round two. Okay, so some of you may or may not know, but last year, because of COVID, we didn't get to have it, but it would have been our first year that we got to partner with the Punishers. And I have the president of the Punishers here with us this evening. This is Harley Folkson. And if you don't know what the Punishers are, they're a law enforcement emergency motorcycle group. So they will be our partner for this event this year. And it was formerly called the Hank Williams Senior Tribute Festival, but we've changed the name because of the Black Bear chapter of the Punishers and to also promote the bears in town. So as a formality, we come before you guys every year when we have this event to get your permission for the event and give you the opportunity to ask us questions about the event. So
When is that?
September the 25th.
So it's just one day.
Yep, it's just one day. And I actually have a copy of the letter that we did in 2019. If you would like to see it. Pass it around.
Krista, do you do it here at the amphitheater?
We do. On, we shut down Kelly and then down Main Street from Jones down to Central.
Okay.
And I think Chief Wisman can attest that we've never had issues from this event. Yeah, this will be our 6th event.
Great.
I move that we authorize the Bears and Brews Festival to proceed on September 25th of this year.
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded that the city approved Destination Downtown's Oak Hill Bears and Brews Festival for the 25th of September. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to 7-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Krista. Number 11, consideration to amend the City of Oak Hill Municipal Code 4.08.050 manufacturing, compounding or preparing products, processing of food accepted, and OHMC 4.08.060 business of selling tangible property, sales exempt. And Bash, you're going to explain that one.
I'm gonna let the city clerk explain.
This is in conjunction with our sales tax ordinance that we have to change lower part of our B&O in order to enact the sales tax. So I've suggested that we eliminate the manufacturing part, the B&O on any manufacturing, and that we lower our retail rate from 0.39 to 0.30. That'll make about a difference of $100,000 in our B&O tax receipts. Down, it'll go down about 100,000.
Have you done an estimate of how much the 1% might increase? Just a ballpark.
I think it was 1.7 million.
So it's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
I think we stood to lose
Is
about
that what it was?
300,000 just in B&O, but gain 1.7 million.
And predominantly, most of that gain would be from computer sales.
Right, Amazon.
That's
Amazon.
not tax credit, Amazon, so forth. Mayor, I'd like for the city manager to give us just a quick dissertation or synopsis on our taxes and where we stand statewide in terms of taxes, as far as some think that we're overtaxing, when in reality, that's not the case, I don't think.
Our B&O is pretty simple and it's clear cut. Our B&O rate on our taxes is 22 to 25% less than the state allows. We pay, if you're in business in the city of Oak Hill, you pay 22 to 25% less than your neighboring municipalities. Okay. And some of the common tax rates, for example, is retail sales. It's 0.39% in Oak Hill. 0.50 or 50 cents anywhere else, not anywhere else, but in most all municipalities. Construction, the highest rate. The state allows you to charge $2 or 2%, $2 per hundred. In Oak Hill, you pay 1.5% or 1.55%, I'm sorry. Service covers a lot of businesses. State allows $1 per hundred or 1%. In Oak Hill, you pay 0.78 cents. And I don't, it amazes me. I do not know how or why, but City of Oak Hill has a reputation of being a high tax city. That is not true. Absolutely not true. So thank you for the opportunity to bring that to light, Mr. Perry.
And Mayor, I'd like to ask that specific information be included in the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept this as, it's the first reading, correct?
Yes.
First reading of the amendment to Oak Hill Municipal Code 4.08.050 and 4.08.060.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All, excuse me there, Mr.
I don't have anything.
Oh, let you your hand in.
I'm just getting the mic close.
Oh,
Short.
now you gotta be
Getting red.
careful.
I'm short, you know.
All right. Let's get back here, see, motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion?
This is just the first reading, correct?
First reading. Any more discussion? Hearing now, we vote the motion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion's agreed to 7-0, which moves us to ordinance to increase the pay of council, first reading. Talk about that.
Okay, I can talk about it because I need some information. The treasurer and I spoke about this at some length actually since the last meeting. And this is I understand, a per diem per required meeting of council. Is that what council's asking for?
I think that's what Mr. Perry brought up.
Okay.
Is that what you said?
I'll wait till he finishes.
Okay, and I would like, before drafting this, to know if it's for meetings that council members have been assigned for recreation okay, you're shaking your head, so you tell me.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
I don't wanna interrupt
that's
you.
what my understanding was, that for representation on the Chamber of Commerce, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, recreation, planning and zoning, those type things where council is appointed to, that there's an extra stipend, and I believe it was suggested $25. And I want to clarify it. So you're shaking your head, so I'm wrong.
I'm
so
listening. I'm listening.
I'm going to listen now because I'm wrong.
I'm not saying you're wrong. That's how you heard things.
And can I ask also?
Sure.
Just for you all to consider, would you just consider a nicer annual increase than the per diem?
Well, I think that I suggested both, if I remember correctly. And I think I did talk to Montgomery, which they pay an allowance or per diem or whatever you want to call it for participation in other meetings and activities. Mount Hope doesn't. I think we all know that the city of Fayetteville pays, and none of us are here for the pay, but we all had take time apart from the meetings here to participate in ribbon cuttings, participation on committees such as the sports festival, or it's not sports festival, Oak Leaf Festival. So what I said was, and I would drop the part on mileage and food. Okay. I would suggest it be paid twice a year, just like our pay. But I would propose that across the board, and we need to make very clear that none of us sitting here would get those benefits unless we would run and be elected. That it would go into effect in 23, I believe it is that the next election?
Next election.
23. So I would suggest, and I ask for your guys' input, somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 increase in the base. So I thought either or, and would wait to see what my colleagues think. And I would suggest that we pay, I'll call it a participation rate of $100 or $125. Montgomery pays $25, and that is not for, and I didn't say that before, that is not for just appointed committees or so forth. That is if, sorry if I use your name, Mr. Smallwood. If Mr. Smallwood would attend a meeting with, let's say, the chief, along with the Board of Education on behalf of the council. Anytime you're there to represent the council, you can claim it. Now, we could put a cap on it, but I don't think it should be confined only to council-appointed positions.
Okay.
Or required positions. And in principle, like I said, it's in other cities. And I was surprised to see Montgomery recognizing that.
Right. Well, I think,
And again, I would suggest paying it twice a year.
right.
Or whatever suits Demita, for that matter, if we pass it. Or quarterly, or.
And as a member of the administration that used to sit in your seat, my only concern is that I think, and this is for the future, I'm not talking to anyone here, I'm talking about for the future, but I think you need to define it, because there were probably several meetings throughout the county today that if a member of council wished to attend whatever it was, a county commission meeting or a member of the.
That's a good example. Someone may have attended with you on the meeting you attended.
Okay.
I don't know that you can refine it and define it that much, Bill. I think you have to put a certain amount of ethical.
Well, if they decide to attend a Board of Education meeting that doesn't have anything that we're not involved in with Halsted Street at the time.
Well, we were invited to the ABE.
Yeah.
We were invited to the discussion regarding media with the Board of Education. We were invited to cut a ribbon at Kevin's place once upon a time. And I think those things ought to count. You know, that was on a Saturday. You know, and again, none of us stand to gain from it.
Right.
And that is also done with the West Virginia legislature. Now, it could be, you should say you submit it prior to, and it'd be approved by the mayor. But now that's.
Well, that would be an administrative duty of the mayor.
Yeah. Do what?
That would be an administrative duty.
Well, we may be looking at our charter, changing
Of
it
the
at
mayor.
some point in time.
Well, you can if you like, but I'm just saying that under our current charter.
I understand. I hear what you're
Okay.
saying. So, you know.
I just have one question here, Mr. Perry. You talk about this per diem.
Or participation, or whatever you want to call it.
All right, if you would go to a ribbon cutting, stay 20 minutes, how much could you claim there as opposed if you stayed an hour and a half? Or is it
That's
the
something
same?
you may want to include in the policy. In the ordinance. You know, you're taking time away and representing the city. And people expect you to do that. Majority does.
That's true.
I'm not denying that at all. In fact, I'll agree with, the only thing that I think you have to be careful Because you don't know who's going to be sitting in these seats and you don't know the caliber of person who'll be sitting in these seats.
Well, you
in
would
the
hope
future.
that an
You would
increase in
hope, but
pay
you have
would,
no guarantee.
well, you don't
And
have a
I'm just saying
guarantee
you
that we're
need
not
to-
gonna walk out of here
You need to
tonight.
ratchet that down to a point where there's not room for abuse.
Well, that would be the ethics violation or ethics.
Not if you
Commission.
write it loosely where it's
Yeah, well,
permitted.
yeah, it could be. That a complaint could be filed that you claimed. Anything can go before the Ethics Commission. I don't know that you can define it as rigidly as you're suggesting, Bill. What are you suggesting you do it through then?
I'm thinking that some time needs to be taken to.
You know, I'm
define-
tired of us saying time. We've been 6 months trying to get an appraisal on a building or less than that. And it's always a reason why we can't proceed. So, you know, I'm here for progress.
Well, I am too, believe me, and there's been a whole lot more progress
But I think it's a
in my tenure
decision.
than yours.
I
So
think it's,
I'm going to say this. I think you need to be careful about opening a door that you'll never be able to get.
and I
shut again.
respect that, and the next council could do that. But I think that this is a decision for the council to make.
If this is going to affect the next sitting council, I think we have plenty of time to go ahead and work out the details.
So I would rather see us do it and not make it become a political issue around running for council.
I think the last time we voted raise was like before we got voted in.
It has to be.
Yeah, it was before that. I mean, we
It
were
has
saying
to be.
none
It
of
was
us
right
knew.
It was before we filed. You had a filing.
It was before, yes. Yeah, so none of us sitting at that time knew whether or not we were going to get a raise.
But you certainly
didn't know
knew
if
when
you
you
was going-
ran or appointed. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve a $2,000 increase in base. And that it pertain only to, as you've suggested, Bill, appointed council positions or required positions.
Okay.
That's what you suggested.
You're 2,000 increase in base pay for all members. of
Yes.
council. Okay.
And that
What
would
about the
be,
mayor?
that, huh?
What about the mayor?
Yeah. That would be what? What's the total on that? Total salary?
5,000
5,000
for
for the base.
for council and 6,000 for the mayor.
Now, does that include the appearances or what, the meetings
No.
too, or, okay?
No, I suggested what Bill recommended, that it only be like, for example, you serve on what?
Oh, Recreation Committee and
Planning.
Planning Committee.
Planning. So
Planning
you
and
would
Zoning.
receive reimbursement,
those two.
remuneration for that.
Okay. Now, the cash-
Does that pertain to anyone else? Or any other positions, Bill?
We try to get everybody to be on the
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything.
Okay, well, but you've got a list is what I'm saying.
Right, we would have one like at the Chamber of Commerce and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And
Now, that would not pertain to the municipal meeting either.
that, well, I don't think so because.
I said it would not pertain.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Mr. Perry, as far as an office holder or a committee member with the West Virginia Municipal League, would you want to consider that or not? Like if you're on the legislative committee or the, like Mr. Oxley's past president,
He's on the board.
I think it should be.
Here when this is all.
okay.
I think it should be. I think it should be. I'm one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sitting there.
How much is the per meeting pay?
Pardon the
How
meeting.
much is that pay, the per meeting?
I'll take anything. I suggest 125 if someone wants to bend that down to 100. I will restate my motion. Okay? Because it didn't have a second. I move that we increase the base pay to $2,000 for each member and the mayor to 3. And that the participation fee for required meetings for membership on the council be $100. And I'd ask for a second, so.
And
we'll
I'll
discuss
second
further.
that.
Do what?
Mr. Smallwood second.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Properly moved and seconded on the first reading. An ordinance increase the pay of council. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
Motion's agreed to, 6-1. 13, appointment to the New River Gorge Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Let me get
Mr.
back
Mayor.
down there. I had to refresh my screen. I'm sorry. Cursor doesn't work now. Yes, ma'am.
Did you get my email about a meeting tomorrow?
I did. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you for reminding me.
No, I have stated before that I would like to see someone else accept this. And I've made that clear to Mr. Hannibas. I made it very clear to this council at the last meeting, but if no one else,
I would
Yes.
like to submit Mr. Perry's name.
I'll second that.
Properly moved and seconded that the vacancy on the New River Gorge Convention Business Bureau the appointment be to Councilman Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to. Did you vote, Mr. Perry?
no, I did not vote.
6-0. Thank you. 14, appointment to fill vacancy on council Ward 1 for. Mrs.
Mayor, I am going to abstain from any discussion in this also.
You know, have we
I'm not
accept,
leaving the room, but
have we accepted a resignation yet?
yes.
We did? I don't recall. She didn't tell me. She told you, boo. I mean, are we,
I don't
should-
think there's been any official vote on that.
okay.
It was unanimous. Y'all just missed it.
I missed that one.
I would move that we seek letters or letters and resume of interest. And I would move that and suggest that simply because it's not in the charter, it's not in code, but this has been a precedent that has been set from Diane Smallwood. Mr. Smallwood was handled that way. Mr. Jackson was handled that way. Mr. Hazlett was handled that way, and I was handled that way. Not when he applied.
Mr. Perry, you're making that motion regarding that we take letters and or resumes from interested people out of Ward 1, residents out of
Right,
Ward 1.
yes.
And are you also giving us a time as to when they should be in, a deadline?
I yield to my colleagues again.
I'd say by the September meeting.
Okay.
By the what?
Or maybe,
By
September
September meeting.
I wonder if we can get them like a
just
week before.
A few days before
Yeah.
that, so
Yes.
we got time to receive them and you all have time to review them. In case I get one that afternoon or the.
So do those go to you or do they go to the mayor?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, y'all get them as soon as.
You got enough to do.
I can get them to you just as soon as I get them.
Okay. I'd say at least a week before.
All right, so you want to say September 6th or something, or 5th, or?
Yeah, 6th is a week before, correct?
Is that the
Yes,
Monday
that's a-
before?
Yeah, the next meeting's the 13th of September,
Deadline September 6th, right? Okay.
and that way council have them. Are you gonna send them out to us as you get them or all at once?
I'll send them as I get them. That's usually the way I do it. And I'll consolidate them in one file, but I'll send them.
So to restate my motion, I move that we seek letters of interest and or resumes for the Ward 1 position that has been voted on by council accepting the resignation of Ms. Wilshire, and that they be received on or before September 6th. To Mr. Hannibal.
For a second,
I'll second that.
properly moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
I'll send them one at a time, and then on September 6th, I'll send them all to you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we vote the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to 6-0. Which now moves us to future agenda items. Ward 1, going over there. Have any future items?
Well, going forward, I'm gonna be out for about 3 months with my knee replacement surgery. So can I attend these meetings by Zoom and participate?
Sure.
Yes, Preston's already been set for that, so yeah. You're good to go. Homilo,
go.
Chester.
Yeah.
Anyone else in Ward 1?
I do, you'd expect it. I've talked to Mr. Hannibal. I understand he's progressing on a appraisal person for the BB&T building, and I'm complimenting on that. I would hope that we would have something by September.
I checked on it today. It could be another, I know you don't want to hear Ms. Perry, and I didn't either, but another 30 to 40 days, but
So that would put us where, Bill?
that'll put us right to next council meeting.
That's September, right?
Right.
That's what I was driving to. So I would hope we would have that appraisal in our hands at the September business meeting. Or
In keeping with your topic, did we also talk about getting someone to review that facility for what it would take to bring it up to whatever we need?
That will be part of the appraisal, I understand, in discussion with Mr.
That's the way
Hannibal
you're gonna do it?
as to its suitability
Mhm.
for the proposed or possible use. And again, hear me say, I have no preference one way or other at this time, but I think we need to look at it and consider it. The other item I'd like to see for the next meeting is from January through tonight, a list of monies that has been spent for demolition in the areas and or ward, I'd say areas rather than ward, that they've been spent in.
Okay, I can do that in about 2 minutes.
Okay, you got the next month to do it.
I could show you right.
Missy's kicking me. I don't have a printed copy of it. You know how I like printed copy. Next meeting's fine, Bill.
Okay.
All right, at large, Mr. Oxley.
Nothing, Mayor, that comes to mind. Thank you.
Ward 2.
The only thing I have is, do we have any applicants for the economic director position?
Very few. Very few.
It's closed, right?
Right? And I think, I'm glad you brought it up because I two things related to each other. I believe we need to re-advertise. I believe we need to put a price or a very narrow window on the salary, proposed salary, because I think that hurt us. And that's, I didn't know any better. I didn't realize it, but
That's what we'd suggested you do. That's what we were suggested by the guy from Marshall to do.
just to leave it open.
Yeah, but
I think it was a mistake.
what do you recommend, Bill?
50?
What, 40 to 50 or 45 to 50, a range?
Right.
I'd say 40 to 50. What was the other thing you suggested? Re-advertise.
Re-advertise and put the dollar amount in there.
Would you want that in a motion?
No, I think I can do it
Okay.
without that.
I think if you put the 40 to 50, you're gonna get even fewer applicants because what's being required what's being required or what the city wants is going to be someone who has experience, has a degree, who has a background in these kinds of things, in marketing and business and that kind of thing. And I don't think they're gonna look at it for 40,000. Now, if you wanted somebody fresh out of school, no background, no experience and no grasp of business and PR and those kinds of things, then you probably could. But I just don't think you're gonna get it for wanting that much. Everybody wants it for that much, but I don't think you'll get it. I think you'll get even fewer applicants. That's only my opinion, and I can't vote.
Well, I think we need to be very careful that we don't offset a balance of salaries of persons here who have dedicated themselves to the city, spent time in the city. I'm not disagreeing with the mayor, but I think we have to consider that we not do what's been done in state government. I don't know.
I would agree with that, but I just think that if you want to pay 40, you need to come down on what you are asking.
How long are you going to advertise this for, Bill?
How long have we?
How long are you?
Oh, I would say a month and a half,
What was the cost for advertising it the last time?
about $5,000. I know.
You put that with the initially too.
I did. Yeah.
We had it at Marshall, WU, Glenville, Concord. Facebook, did we put it on Facebook?
We did.
Is that person gonna be required to live in the city?
That was part of it. Do we want them to still maintain that?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Smallwood said, is that person gonna be required to leave the city? I said, do we want to still maintain that?
Oh,
I think they should.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
Councilman Jackson just pointed out something I think that may be pertinent to our cause. Did we specify that the individual had to live in city limits?
we did.
I think
That
that
may
cuts
be a
down.
drawback.
To say that they could live, for instance,
Exactly.
Beckley and travel to Oak Hill and be the economic director of Oak Hill.
I
Think
know
if
the
you had a
economic
Fayette County.
director of Bluefield, West Virginia, lives in Bluefield, Virginia. So, I mean, it could be somebody that would take up roots somewhere and go to another community and their kids are in school with this one. I mean, it's a thought. I think it's a good point. I mean, it's not like your chief of police or city manager, or city clerk, anything like that. You're gonna be doing a lot of work away from this building.
And I think we can state it as our preference, but
Yeah,
not
but
make it the,
but not required.
Yeah,
You say preference, you're not saying that you have to be here now, but you could end up,
but you could
getting
end
an
up here at
apartment
some
here or
point,
something.
yeah,
but you could end up in the position and still not have residence.
right.
Correct.
That's what it is. Bill, I think you might feel more comfortable if Mr. Oxley and Tiz would put that in the form of a motion. I think it'd be appropriate to do that. Not to disparage what you said.
We need to put it in a motion?
Well,
I think so.
Not on the
it's not on the
agenda.
agenda.
Oh,
I don't believe it, because we talked about salary.
okay. Well, I mean, I just want to be sure that
Yeah.
we're
we do
clear
it.
what we've asked Bill to do.
40 to 50, and you don't have to live in Oak Hill.
Yeah, I'll just put it as our preference that we want you to live in Oak Hill, but
Preferred but not
see if we
required.
can expand our search a little bit.
Preferred but not
Yeah,
required.
Good point, Councilman.
get more
Why
people
you're
like that.
running.
Any other future items from Ward 2? All right, hearing none. I have just one thing, Mr. Hannah, I would, if you could please consider and look at the possibility of putting a sign on this building so people will know. You may think everyone knows it, but I had a lady from Fayetteville call me, had some business to take care of here, and she didn't know where the city hall was. She asked me where, would she see the sign? I said, if you do, let me know. Because she said she knew where it was. I had to give her some directions, but I just thought there should probably have some kind of a sign somewhere to see in City Hall. Big sign, you can read it from the main street out there. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's not debatable, thank goodness. So we'll now vote the motion. All those in
Note the
favor,
time
sing-
is 8:30.
Ugh.
Aye.
Those in favor, sing by saying aye. Those opposed, no. The motion's agreed to, no, zero. No.
I'm gonna have my wife's boyfriend will be right
What's that attorney down there? Dave what?
I think you can do that. I can do that.
What's that? What's that? Hey, what's that attorney's name? Dave Green or Gron?
I think that's what we need to do. The mayor can say, right here, can we just flip the department report first? and the council comes
okay.
back?
And then she threatens to kick me.
I always do that.
Good meeting, Tom. Good meeting.
Okay, so take off adjournment.
As I figure out how.
Yeah, just